A very good evening. My name is Dr. Rama Mundra, and I'm AMA's Governing Council member. Very, very happy to invite you today to a very different talk. So, we keep hearing a lot about harassment and harassment prevention. But what actually the law is behind? How does police look at it? How do corporates look at it? How does the law come to rescue of people? So today we have very, very eminent speakers. I have been slightly nervous and आप भी कभी सीनियर मोस्ट पुलिस ऑफिसर के इतने बगल में बैठ के देखिए. I'll also ask you the same question. Nervousness होती है कि नहीं? So this is our actual honor and AMA's delight to receive Mr. Anil Pratham, IPS and Gujarat cadre only, and we were just discussing a couple of things about him boardroom. So I'll tell you, I'm not reading his CV. I'm telling the couple of things that I heard from him right now. He did his BCom and MCom from Shri Ram College, Delhi. Could happily have gone for a chartered accountancy and have a financial controller's cushioned, cozy corporate life. So what would be the motivation to choose a life that he has chosen? A very difficult job, a very, very coveted position, but not easy to get through. And he'd already had a job in LIC. So I said, sir, what would motivate you to do this? You had a great career ahead, you were already working, and then with working, and that's such an inspiration for all of us who says, पढ़ने का शौक तो बहुत है पर टाइम नहीं मिलता है, एक आर्टिकल भी नहीं पढ़ते हैं. In that job, he finished his, remember he was a postgraduate earlier, and then he does his law, LLB and LLM both. Appeared for UPSC, got through IPS, and that's who he is, the person. So the amount of work that goes in becoming the person he is, if we have a little iota of working on that and that kind of motivation, I think we will reach a little level that he has reached. I mean, I wouldn't dare we'll compete, but at least look up करने जितना तो level आ जाएगा. So without much ado, I would request sir to come and talk about.
Good afternoon to everyone. Respected President of AMA, Shrimati Pooja Badlani ji, Rama ji. Really, it is very nice for me to be called here and to say something about which we are supposed to implement, the act which we are supposed to impart knowledge to the corporate, make the women aware and fight for their right at the workplace. This is the topic. Without going into the much background of Vishakha judgment and what role women had in history, religious or other way, how women was treated as a commodity at some time, and after independence she has become equal with man in all aspects. So that how that can be realized at the workplace, where almost we have very negligible percentage of women who are working, and those negligible women, how they can work in free and fair atmosphere is real challenge for all the NGOs who are working for the empowerment of the women, all the civil societies who are trying and convincing the government, which is very slow in making any law. It takes years to understand the issue. Then they come up with some bill, it is passed, act is made, and then again its implementation. We, the government, are very slow, we can say. This act was made in 2013. Prior to that, as per Supreme Court guidelines, Vishakha judgment was the main thing by which we were governed. We had few women council in college. It is called women council, no? Something. So issues of girls were discussed. But after that, after 2013, it was duty of employer that they create the so-called internal committee and let it be displayed prominently and let the workers know that it exists. But it is being done? I don't know how many AMA deals with the company. We don't know how many companies have formulated ICC. If we go out of the corporate world, we have a provision, this act has the provision of local complaint committee. Just for reference, I will read one or two paper I have brought that will help me and precisely tell you what government wanted. When this act came, you know, we have our IPS officers WhatsApp group or a mail where we discuss the upcoming acts and how they can be implemented. So in 2013, June 2013, about 9 years back, when this act was just passed, so we had few points at that point of time when it said that Vishakha judgment was restricted, but this act made its implication wider. Wider in the sense it has covered not only companies, it has covered, say, NGO, trust, hospitals, or other organization where more than 10 people are working. It can be sports complex, it can be a private sector, it can be any NGO, something like that. So we can say act has made the relationship between employer and the lady employee who is working, place may be anywhere or anything, but idea was that lady will be protected. Then this act was made that after when inquiry is initiated in this ICC, so it is not strictly a trial as per court, but it had certain provision of reconciliation, settlement, because they are working in a company, so that angle was also there. So that is also there. So in that way, things and caution has been taken that atmosphere of a company and manpower is also not disturbed. Then state governments and central governments were given the mandate, and it was their mandate that they should develop the training programs, they should organize some trainings and guide the concerned employer. Also, the employer had the duty on them that they should continuously make their employee sensitive by imparting the training that was done. And after the rules were passed, it was also mentioned that a company or employer can be fined up to 50,000 if they fail to implement this thing. Now, the detailing of the act, I think Pooja ji will do later on. But what I want to say right now, after this act, what government has done? The government means, in this case, in this act, Women and Child Department and Police Department, basically two departments, and Labor Department, because they are controlling private entities. So it was these three departments' duty to see that all the internal committees are established and internal committees are displayed. Their notice board notice board is maintained in such a way that it is seen by the employee. If we can see, we have written to from the police department, we have written to both the department, and they have also written to subordinate offices, and we are trying to have the system how it can be done. But as we know, as per records, there are very less number of complaints received, or they are not being communicated, because as per act, the annual reports of these complaints should be submitted to the state government by the district authorities. So whether that has been done or not is again a question. When we deal with the women's subject, so role of the NGO, role of the social audit, and opinion and feedback of the general public matters a lot. So we had tried certain NGOs, certain such civil rights individuals to work for us. So they have also been doing it. We have assigned to few NGOs, and we have one scheme of Friends for Women and Child. So even they are, we have given task to them that they can go visit and try to guide the companies or the entities which are supposed to have this internal committee. So that we are also doing. But since this is a very sensitive subject, since it is related to the economy, since it is related to the job, so we are not going so far and directly like any policing or any enforcement agencies do. So hence we are having a approach to engage more and more NGO, more and more volunteers. Like in a sample case, we had called from district magistrates. All district magistrates are in charge of the local committee. Local committee are those committees where number of members in that entity is less than 10, or where there is no provision of ICC. So they can approach for the woman can approach for our harassment to local complaint committee. So collectors, we had written to all the collectors, all the CPs, all the SPs, and we had received many reply from them, and they have said that they have also passed on to the below organization for implementation. So my idea of just referring to these letters is that government is trying in their own way, slowly and slowly, to get it implemented and use the maximum NGO. When I came, I just saw today itself. I just called earlier papers of my AMA visit. So I have came to know that I had also visited AMA for this subject also. Earlier there was a subject we had discussed. I think Bakshi Saab you are here. तो अंशु शर्मा वाज देयर, नंदा साहब भी वहाँ थे और अपने भी थे. तो वी हैड डन ए ऑल डिपार्टमेंटल head, we were there, and we had invited, I think they were NGOs or some companies. We had also given them, sensitized them initially. So that thing is going on. So my idea, just I want to say that this act is there, and the government has all the intention that this act get implemented. We want the concerned employer that they should become aware, they should be proactive, and they design their ICC, they can design their course, they can take help of government wherever they want, or the police department whenever they want. We have Mahila police stations, we have now very actively she teams are working. Others, now we are starting the women help desk. So many things are working. So ultimately, idea is that women should get justice, women should feel safe working anywhere, any factory, any office, any entity, so that India can really grow. You know, when we adopted Indian Constitution, when India got independence, so it was clearly mentioned that women should go ahead in all the fields, in education, in service, and that is the only criteria when we see that India has developed. Unless women are not grown into their potential in all the spheres they are working, we cannot say that India is growing. So with that spirit, I think I had just initiated the act, what government has done, what we plan to do. In due course, we will have the questions, if any. I think with this, I close my talk right now. Thank you.
So we can have his session share of questions now, and later we'll have the question answer for Pooja ji. So anybody from anywhere, I want to ask question for him. So we're sending the mic to you.
I'm Shanbag. I'm a retired government officer. Very nice and informative in brief, but we got a lot of information. Now the question is, the intentions of the senior officers and the government is very good. But see, if we take levels 1 to 10 in the society, whether it penetrates to 1 to 4, it is good. The topmost understanding very completely. Second, little bit less. 5, okay. But 5 to 10, where actual harassment takes place, is it being penetrated, or the law implementation action are being, thoroughly going?
Mic chalu karke do unka.
Actually, the question you have asked, I myself asked this question in my talk. You know, this is very sensitive. It cannot be from one side. That's why we are using the word empowerment. We are saying that NGO, we are saying the alert people should come on their own. We have enlisted what are the systems available for the woman help and protection. As law says, the victim has to come. First step has to be taken by the victim. So we are trying to make things very conducive, very friendly to victim, so that she can choose any mode of complaint, but she should choose that. We have, as I have made in my talk, but I forgot to mention one thing. We had written, say, 12 times. I brought the paper for that purpose only, because in government service, what happens, I take up a job, then I get transferred for 2 years, then someone, and they don't maintain the continuity of the what we have done. Since I have been for quite a long time at this place, I have maintained that continuity, and I carry my earlier correspondence with me. We have written 12 times. We have reminded 12 times to all the collectors, all the SPs, that you penetrate at, so that internal committee in the eligible entity, maybe office, maybe factory, maybe NGO office, something, or maybe hospital, they become, so that process is still going on. Thank you.
Great. Any more questions from audience for her? Great. Yeah. Can we have the mic for Divesh, please? I'll just send the mic to you.
Hello. Yeah, have you come across, sir, any case where this law is misused by anybody?
Yes, there have been cases. There have been cases.
But then, I mean, any recourse or something like that where, you know?
No, I think misuse to kya, well, they have utilized it or misused it to a better sense. It happens. I don't think they can be punished, though there is a provision. But we have two very good questions in a sense. We need a balance. We want the actual victims should come forward and take benefit of these acts. But what is happening, they are not using that much, and some other ladies who are already aware and more aware of how they can misuse it, that is also being done. But in the long term, when we analyze, even this misuse by one or two help in overall growth of the women empowerment. So we take in that sense.
Absolutely. Very, very true. Great. May I request our President, Mr. Devesh Radia, to give a tiny token of appreciation to sir. We, of course, will come back to question answer session once Poojaji's session is over. So a very interesting personality. I just happened to meet her recently. Financial analyst, actually got into image consulting, have been a stylist for a long time. And then 6 months earlier, she decided to get into POSH and POXO and decided to become a trainer for this, which I think is a very important thing for women to become a trainer for this, especially because the idea for women to speak up is crucial when there is a harassment happening. And we were just discussing this, and I think she would also talk about this. I said, in my opinion, women do have a lot of protection from the world as well. So I'm not saying the harassment doesn't happen, but men are equally harassed, or probably more harassed in our society. They just don't get to speak. हमने मार मार के उनको सिखा रखा है लड़का होके रोने का नहीं है, लड़का होके शिकायत नहीं करने की है, बहुत पीट रखा है हमने अपने men को. So I think, and I also think that there's a very important thin line where we don't learn to misuse these laws for women, because society labels men much faster than they label women. So I was just discussing this, Pooja ji, which she has promised me to talk about that as well. So over to her. Thank you, Pooja ji.
Thank you so much, Ramaji. Am I audible? Thank you so much, Ramaji. I would want to step down and start my session. One second. स्टार्टिंग से स्टार्ट कीजिए या मैं इधर से ही कर लेती हूँ. A very good evening, everyone. Firstly, it's an absolute honor for me to share the stage with DGP Anil Pratham, sir, who heads CID Crime Women's Cell. It's an honor, sir. I would like to start this session. This topic is honestly very, very close to my heart. And I would like to start this session with one question. And that is tolerance a virtue or a vice? And I would love to hear your opinions on that. Before that, sir, if I could please request you and Rama ma'am to have a seat down because the presentation is playing here, and I would love that if you could see it. सहन शक्ति है, सहन शक्ति औरत का गहना है. सुना है हम सब ने ये सुना है? I'm sure सुना है, मैंने ज़रूर सुना है. तो क्या ये शक्ति है? Is this a strength or a weakness? Sir, if you could elaborate on that one, please. Sorry? And who decides that degree, sir? Okay, on the basis of what? Okay, interesting point of view. Thank you so much, sir. Anyone else? I would love to hear this from the ladies as well. Weakness? Okay. Anyone else? Yes, please. Absolutely. So if anything impacts your dignity and your self-respect, in that scenario, I personally believe that tolerance is a vice. In all other scenarios where maybe we can, agree to disagree with people, in that scenario, I feel tolerance is a strength. Just a moment. Prevention of sexual harassment at workplace we are talking about today. Sir just spoke about the Vishakha judgment. I would like to elaborate a little bit on this one. Long back in 1992, there was a Bhavari Devi case that happened in Rajasthan. I'm not too sure if all of you know about this, but in Rajasthan, there was this lady called Bhavari Devi in 1992 who worked for the Rajasthan government, and she worked for the Women Development Program in that village, where she was responsible for stopping the dowries, stopping the domestic violence, stopping child marriages, and that's what she did. So she stopped a child marriage that happened, and that child was a Gujjar's child. Gujjars were supposed to be the higher caste in Rajasthan. And that baby was just 9 months old. So she stopped a marriage of a 9-month-old baby, and what happens to her? She is gang raped in front of her husband in a farm, and this case was not filed by the police. So therefore, in 1997, there were these Vishakha guidelines that Sir was speaking about that came up. And based on that, in 2013, Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013 came into existence. It's based on this act that the posh policies of the organizations are formed. And of course, this was not taken very seriously, as Sir also said, right? This was not taken very seriously. But in 2018, when the Me Too movement started, that's when, once again, this act came into light. I would just like to play a very short 2-minute video here.
रविवार की सुबह या मंगलवार या बुधवार, रोज की कहानी है. मैं अपना काम कर रही थी.
अरे बीवी, एक गिलास पानी तो पीने दे.
और तभी साहब को प्यास लगी. और भाई पानी पीने का असली मजा तो शेल्फ में ऊपर रखे हुए ग्लास से ही आता है। वहां लखनऊ में आज की दोपहर थोड़ी अलग है।
क्या बात है डिम्पल जी, आजकल आपके गाल जो है ना वो टमाटर की तरह लाल लाल हो गए हैं। वैसे पिंक ड्रेस में आपको देखकर ना दिल खुश हो गया है। आप एक काम करो, आप हमारे दिल का ख्याल रखो, हम आपकी प्रमोशन का ख्याल रख लेंगे, हाँ?
अजी नौकरी इनकी बदौलत है तो इतना बोलने का हक तो बनता है ना। और ये देखिए आज की शाम इस छोटे से गांव में कितनी खूबसूरत है इन जनाब के लिए।
अरे बहुत मेहनत करती है तू, कल से काम बंद कर दूंगा तेरा, और दूसरे ठेकेदार का भी काम नहीं मिलेगा।
पूरा दिन इतनी लगन से मेहनत करती हूँ तो लाला जी सराहना तो करेंगे ही ना। आप सोच रहे होंगे ना ये सब मैं आपको क्यों बता रही हूँ, क्योंकि कभी किसी को बताने की हिम्मत नहीं होती। अगर हिम्मत करके बता भी दूं तो कोई विश्वास नहीं करता, और अगर कोई विश्वास कर भी ले तो साथ नहीं देता।
एक सुरक्षित कार्यस्थल हर महिला का अधिकार है और हम सबकी जिम्मेदारी। इन्हें हिम्मत दें, इन पर विश्वास करें, इनका साथ दें।
A very, very heart-touching video, to be very honest. And a lot of women, I feel, do go through situations, right? I have worked for the corporates long back, and I have also faced a situation where I did feel discomfort. But at that point, maybe I didn't even realize that it was sexual harassment. So what is this sexual harassment? And as Sir said, that the choice is ours to speak up. If we choose to keep quiet, then we are the ones at fault, right? We cannot blame the system, we cannot blame the organization, and we cannot blame the government. I would love to share my experience here. I was just all of 21 when I was working for this organization, and our entire department used to go out for lunch together. So my boss's boss used to sit in that cabin, in that cubicle, and a very bubbly girl that I was, you know, right out of college, and I just went and I said, let's all go for lunch. He said, I've not got my lunch. I said, maybe you can just order, or we all have got our lunch, or maybe you can just order whatever you want to eat. He said, I want to eat you. I walked out. I didn't know what to do. And all I could do is just tell my immediate superior. I still did that because at that point, there was no act. Even in a multinational organization, there was no act. Of course, I made sure that the man apologized to me. But then my question to you over here is, how many of us would really speak up? Over here, the women who are sitting here, if I may ask, have you faced such a scenario in your experience or in your corporate life or in your work life? Have you? Do we really have the courage to speak about it? That's the question we really need to answer ourselves. Some statistics show, the Trade Union Congress survey shows that 52% of women claim to have been sexually harassed by a man at workplace. 1 out of 5 women report this case. 80% of women think that the outcome is poor. And 16% women say that the situation only worsened after they reported it. That is also, वो भी एक डर होता है, right, हमारे में, कि हमने रिपोर्ट कर दिया. ये भी एक होता है, पता है, पुलिस स्टेशन नहीं जाना है, हमारे खानदान की इज्जत का क्या होगा? Really, what do we really have to worry about? हमारी इज्जत or the society? Again, a question that we need to ask ourselves. What type of actions constitute workplace sexual harassment? Making physical contact or advancement, demanding or requesting for sexual favors, passing sexually colored comments, showing pornography, and of course catcalling, making kissing sounds, and a lot of things that are visual, verbal, or physical in nature and that are sexually uncomfortable is a form of sexual harassment. Let's have a short quiz here and see if these kind of scenarios are sexual harassment or not. Proposing to a colleague for the first time, is it sexual harassment? Yes or no? Can I have the no's hands up? It's not. If you're proposing to a colleague for the first time, it is not sexual harassment. Having a romantic relationship with a superior or a subordinate, is it sexual harassment? No. Proposing to a colleague multiple times, sexual harassment? Yes. A boss reprimanding an employee for not working or coming late to office, is that sexual harassment? No. Calling nicknames like darling, honey, babes, yes it is. Complimenting someone's outfit? It depends. You're looking very pretty is all right. You're looking very sexy is not all right. You're looking very hot is not all right. Discussing a non-veg joke in front of your female colleagues? Absolutely. So I guess we all are very clear with what constitutes sexual harassment? Perfect. Now, what defines workplace? If I am at work, if I am at AMA, for example, and I'm working at AMA, is only AMA my workplace? If I am traveling for work to some other city, and I am traveling, I am staying in a hotel, I am staying in a guest house, that guest house is also my workplace. My transit, the cabs that I'm taking, I am going for work. Whatever and wherever I am going for work constitutes my workplace. Be it the cafeteria of AMA is also the workplace. So it's very important to know what is a workplace. If a boss has invited you home to discuss work, then that boss's house is also a workplace. Who all are covered under this law? So who all are these employees? The employees will constitute full-time temporary employees, contractual workers, daily wage employees, interview candidates. Anyone coming to the organization for an interview is also covered. Anyone coming as a representative of a vendor or a client is also covered. Anyone just visiting your organization can also complain to the ICC if they feel sexually harassed. There are two types of sexual harassment. One is quid pro quo. What is quid pro quo? Give and take. You give me this, I will give you a promotion. You don't give me this, I will give you a demotion, right? And the second one is the hostile environment. Now, for example, there was a case that happened in Uber that there was this boy and the girl who were having an affair, and they would go back home in an Uber that was, again, a company-given car, right? The company had this contract with Uber. The couple would do PDA on the back seat, which made the driver very uncomfortable. Is that sexual harassment? Yes, it is. For the driver, it is. So if two people are in a relationship, but their proximity makes you uncomfortable, it is sexual harassment for you. So that comes under hostile work environment. Even if someone is just maybe ruining your reputation, that, you know, so-and-so girl is having an affair with so-and-so boy, that is also sexual harassment. So give and take, as I just mentioned, hostile work environment. What defines unwelcome behavior? What is an unwelcome behavior? Any action done without the consent or is regarded offensive by the recipient. Here, let me tell you, it's the impact that matters more than the intent. I repeat, impact matters more than the intent. These are just some behaviors, like if someone feels uncomfortable, you don't feel like indulging into it, it makes you feel helpless. These are all unwelcome behaviors. As I said, intent versus impact. This is an example that a person is saying, did you read that joke, Neha? Come here, read it. It's a non-veg joke. And she's like, oh no, that dirty joke again. Maybe the intent is not to really sexually harass a person. It's just a joke, right? So maybe the person does not have any wrong intent, but the impact that it creates is what decides whether it's sexual harassment or not. Again down, the boss is asking the employee, would you like to have a coffee? And she's like, no thanks. Once again, next day he asks, would you like to have a coffee? Again, it could be that the boss does not have any intent, but the employee feels it. The employee feels awkward. That is once again considered sexual harassment. Impact, what are the kind of impact it can have on people? It could be psychological, humiliation, reduced motivation, low self-esteem, behavioral, isolation, emotional withdrawal, and it could also be professional, that a person literally leaves their job. I know of a person who taught me, Posh, that she has stopped wearing Western clothes because of a situation of sexual harassment that she faced. It can have that long-term an impact. How can an individual prevent sexual harassment? If you are being targeted, let the person know that such behavior will not be tolerated. It's very important for us to raise our voice and say no. If you are an observer, you must report it to the HR. It's not only if we are going through it, right? If we're actually seeing someone else go through it, we still need to report it. Just a few examples. Number one, Ketki and Milind work in an accounting firm. Milind is Ketki's head in the office. He often asks Ketki to go out for dinner, movie, after the office, but hesitatingly, Ketki declines. One day, Milind tells Ketki that if she doesn't agree on his offer this time, her increment would not be approved by him. Is that sexual harassment? Yes, it is. Arjun and Monica are part of a project team in a college department. They both report to their senior Malik. Seeing the hard work and efficiency of Monica, she is selected as a core member of another and prestigious college project. Arjun, being senior and more experienced than Monica, didn't like this, so he started spreading fake rumors about some relationship between Malik and Monica. Is this sexual harassment? Yes, it is. Ritu has recently joined as a fresher in a company. Parvez is assigned as her trainer for some period. Parvez is the lead of the team which Ritu wants to join. She approaches Parvez for the same, and looking at her self-esteem, he agrees to her joining once her training period is over. After the training period is over, Ritu joins Parvez's team. During the course of them working together, Parvez asked Ritu for lunch various times, and Ritu went with him willingly. But slowly, as the workload increased for Ritu, she wasn't able to accept lunch offers with Parvez. But he kept asking her via messages and a plethora of mails. Is that sexual harassment? Why? She agreed initially, right? And it's the plethora of mails. So he is harassing her with that plethora of mails, which makes this a case of sexual harassment. Anita sent some pictures of a negligibly dressed woman to Karthik. Karthik replied her to stop sending and never send such pictures ever again. But Anita kept repeating it. Is that sexual harassment? So yes, it does happen with men as well, Ramaji, as we discussed. Right. So now this we just spoke about prevention and prohibition. Let's talk about the redressal. According to the law, as Sir mentioned, every organization that has more than 10 employees needs to have an internal complaints committee in place. An internal complaints committee should have more of female employees than male employees. The necessity is of 4 employees, but we usually have 5, so that if there's any kind of a majority that's required, that's easily got. So one lady employee who's at a very senior position, 2 other employees, general, and 1 person as an external member. So who is working with an NGO or someone who's POSH certified can also be an external member in the organization. The filing of the, just to give you a very gist on the process, the reporting has to be done within 3 months of the incident. ये नहीं हो सकता कि 2 साल पहले मेरे साथ ये हुआ था और मैं अब report कर रही हूँ. So it has to be done within 3 months, and if it's a repeated thing, repeated action that is happening, then the last action should have been done within 3 months, like before 3 months. So the woman can then file a complaint to the IC. The IC will update the respondent. So it's the complainant and the respondent. It's not the victim and the accused. So we have to be very careful with that language that we use. Within 7 days, the IC has to inform the respondent. Within 10 days of receiving the complaint, the respondent has to give a reply back. Does the respondent agree? If he does agree, then yes, there is a conciliation that can take place. As Sir had told us, there's a conciliation that can take place. If he does not agree, then there is a thorough investigation that will take place within 90 days, and there will be a report that will go to the employer. Once the report is submitted to the employer, within 60 days, the employer has to take action. I want to make one thing very clear here, that the ICC has the power of a civil court, which is much, much higher than the employer. So the employer has to take the action. Once again, as ma'am had also mentioned and sir had asked, that do women take advantage of this? Yes, they do. Like 498A is also something that women take advantage of. So over here, the woman has to give her complaint in writing, and there is an oath that she is made to take. Once she does that, she is also told that if her complaint is not right, then the entire action will be taken on her. So yes, that scare needs to be there where the women are concerned as well. So if a woman's promotion has been stopped, then during this phase, it can be reinstated. And of course, the respondent can be given a formal written warning, suspension, termination, or a descending of his designation. What does not constitute? I think we've been pretty clear with this. Lessons to deal with sexual harassment. What we all need to really know is that it is not normal. So please do not ignore it. If things don't stop there, please report it to the ICC. Whatever happens, don't make it your new normal. Listen to the one harassed. If there's someone harassed and someone is coming up and telling you something, please listen to them and inform them about the ICC. And you may also report the situation to the HR. Reprisal action, that is retaliation. A lot of times what happens is, if there is a complaint that's made, so if there's this lady who's complained about her senior, the senior might just insult her in public. So these are the kind of retaliations that happen. That kind of retaliation is also, strict action is taken against such retaliation. In the POSH policy, this is very clearly mentioned. Relationship, this is the last point that I would want to mention here, that relationship with mutual consent is considered okay, but at any point, if there is any one partner who feels that they do not want to be in the relationship, then everything that was once considered normal is now not normal. Thank you so much, and we are now open to questions. Thank you. Yes.
10 employees, and you have the internal committee for monitoring this. Is it illegal? I mean, it has a legal backing?
Absolutely, sir.
Is by law?
Yeah, yeah.
Why is it?
Hello, yeah. Sir has been very liberal in saying that talking about only the 50,000 fine. This is a mandate that if you have more than 10 employees and you have women as a part of those employees, then it is mandatory for you to have the ICC, for the organization to have the ICC. If by any chance a raid is conducted, or if by any chance the woman complains to the police station about the sexual harassment, the first thing that the police will ask is, where is the ICC of the organization? And if they find out it's not there, there is a 50,000 rupees fine. Next month, once again, if they find out that you don't have the ICC in place, there is again a 50,000 rupees fine. And the third month, all your licenses can get cancelled. And to let you all know, Maharashtra has already started conducting raids. And it's only a matter of time, and the ministry board is sitting right in front of us. Yes, please.
Kindly wait for the mic
Yeah.
to reach you.
First of all, disclaimer, this is not about my organization wherein I work
Right.
with. I want to ask one thing, that how do you stop this corporate stigmatization? Because at the very senior leadership level, I have worked with few organizations. People are not very much comfortable accepting these ICCs and the recommendations and the way it should work with. So on the larger aspect, because every good thing flows from top to bottom,
True that.
right? But many a cases it has been observed that people working at the bottom and the middle, they really have the good intent, but the top is not supporting them. So, I mean, sir is the right person over here and we all. So how can we work in the synergy so that we can have this, right top to bottom flow, so that really some good ground level changes can be seen? That's it.
In my opinion, awareness programs is the key. It's only awareness programs. If we actually conduct awareness programs, we let everybody in the organization know that the ICC is there. Once again, the ICC, all the members of the ICC, this needs to be mentioned at the reception of your organization. Again, that's a mandate. So awareness programs is the key in my opinion. Sir, if you would like to answer this.
Hello. In addition to awareness program, as I mentioned in my letter we had written, CID crime has written 12 times to all the collectors, all the CP, all the SP. What does it mean? It means that all the ICC, LCC in districts should be formed. Once they are formed, if I am writing 12 times, then collector is also writing few times down below. कि भाई क्या हुआ, मोकलो. So that implementation is taking place. Once that committee is formed, कमेटी फॉर्म होने के बाद या तो पेपर पे ऐसे ही रख देंगे फाइल के अंदर, या फिर धीरे धीरे कहीं लगाना स्टार्ट करेंगे. तो उसके लिए हमने अभी जो लेटेस्ट किया है, हमारे फ्रेंड्स फॉर वुमेन एंड चाइल्ड एक स्कीम चलती है, जैसे फ्रेंड्स ऑफ पुलिस होते हैं. तो ये ऐसे लोग हैं जो पुलिस की मदद करना चाहते हैं एंड दे हैव ए पैशन टू वर्क फॉर पुलिस. तो हमने उनको एक टास्क दिया है कि आप जाइए और एक पुलिस स्टेशन के अंदर ऐसी 10 कंपनी या ऑफिस या आइडेंटिटी को ढूंढिए और उनको जिनके यहाँ आईसीसी नहीं है, अगर नहीं है तो उनको जाके समझाइए. तो वो एक प्रोसेस अभी वो हमारा आदमी, हमारा नहीं मतलब पब्लिक का आदमी ऑन आवर बिहाफ विल टॉक टू द पब्लिक का आदमी ऑफ कंपनी. तो इस तरह से वी आर पेनिट्रेटिंग, वी आर ट्राइंग. और ये जितने भी एक्ट हैं इंडिया में या कहीं भी, वो तो होंगे ही ना, धीरे धीरे 1 साल 2 साल 5 साल 10 साल होगा, इफेक्ट आएगा उसका. वी हैव टू कंटिन्यू, वी हैव टू कीप फोकस.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we're sending the mic to you, please.
Sir, quick question that what is administration or maybe the corporates themselves are doing to train the ICC? Because what sometimes happens is whether the way they are resolving the complaint is also the most desired manner. Sometimes I think one of the most unfortunate incidents I have noticed is a colleague having taken this to an ICC, where ICC said that this is a very serious matter और हमने बंदे को निकाल दिया है, आप आपकी कंप्लेंट रिजॉल्व हो गई है. सो इज दिस पॉसिबली an appropriate resolution, or we also need to work with ICC on saying how to take up this?
No, this person had other alternatives. He can go to the court, he can go to the police if he feels, he can go to the superior company redressal form if he feels something wrong has been done for the service matter. The main issue remains, victim has to come forward. Victim cannot afford to sleep. Victim cannot afford to sit idle. If you want justice, you have to come forward. We have all the systems. We have systems even that we can go to her home. We have 181, we have counselors. They will go at home and record the statement. So that thing we can do. But she has to say, yes, something has happened to me. I want to make a complaint. I want action to be taken, and put her signature. If that is done, if not within the company, then outside the company we have legal systems that can help her.
And as I say, justice comes only if you have raised the voice and again stay put on that. So I think that's a very crucial thing. Yes, ma'am. We're just sending the mic to you.
Hello. First of all, thank you for this workshop. I just have two questions. One is for Pooja and another is for Sir Anil sir. So I just want to know, you spoke about what can be called as sexual harassment. So we have many field workers going to the field and this thing. This question arises when we had training in our organization. So where a worker is complaining about that, madam, will you consider it as a sexual harassment? Like we are moving to the field and some person who is just sitting idle in the corner of the village is staring us every time we are going. So this is a question whether we will consider this as a sexual harassment at workshop.
Yes, it is considered.
And how
as
it will be
harassment.
proved and what actions could be taken. One thing. Another thing I have, sir, I would like to ask, who is the district officer for Ahmedabad? And like what is the statutory compliances like submitting reports annually? So where it can be submitted in Ahmedabad?
I have the address of the local committee as well.
See, district magistrate is the final authority in any district. He is delegating this power to some of his officers. So I think once you visit the district office, I think you will get who is the concerned person. They have identified, they have notified the officers who are dealing with the subject. And secondly, even I am not sure about the annual reports, about the compilation of all district annual reports. That I am not aware because it is the duty of the Women and Child Department. But yes, we keep on reminding them that this is to be done. You can also do your bit and remind them.
To answer your question about the fields, if there is someone staring, firstly, yes, it is considered sexual harassment. Secondly, the lady can have witnesses as well. So the other people who are working with her, she can collect them as witnesses, and the ICC can also assist her in actually going in for a police complaint. So that is how this specific scenario can be handled.
We're sending the mic to you, sir.
Hi, I wanted to ask a question that what if an ICC officer himself is actually harassing?
Superb question. Superb. Well, if an ICC officer is the one who is harassing someone, then he or she needs to be changed. So the complainant can give in a request if she is not comfortable with any one of the ICC members, and the ICC member will have to be changed.
And last question for the evening from the gentleman right behind you.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Dr. Gaurang Patel, Forensic Medicine, Sola. Ma'am, have issued something that some person is staring, looking on that. So here we are also saying that it is indecent assault. When someone outrage the modesty of woman, every woman have a right to, if any person outrage the modesty of woman, it is indecent assault. In our law, IPC 508, it is punishable. So any girl, any female, whether employee or not, but anywhere, if any person is staring, saying something, jatawen pachadi song gaye, koi indecent words bole, it is also assault.
Yes.
So we have to careful, and we know about these laws that any type of any act, we complain to the police, and under IPC 508, it is punishable.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Last question from here. Can we have the mic, please? Run.
Okay, it's okay.
She would
See,
need a mic.
we've talked about POSH, but we've also, the topic today is about the protection of children. So can you some little bit of highlight about that? that may not be at the workplace, but in other sense also. Please.
Yes, prevention of children from sexual offences. POCSO Act is an act that came into existence in 2012, wherein every school needs to have a school committee. So this is a school committee, and they need to also have a drop box, because a lot of times children cannot come up complaining, and they're not very comfortable with it. So they can write it down and put it in the drop box. The drop box needs to be monitored on a daily basis. The internal committee for the same needs to constitute the principal, the vice principal, one male child of an 8th standard or above, one female child of an 8th standard or above, one male teacher, one female teacher, and one non-teaching staff. So that is how the school committee is maintained, and also it is a mandatory for them to have a counselor in their premises so that the situation can be taken care of. Once again, there are awareness programs that need to be conducted as a mandate for the children of the schools as well.
Great.
Thank you.
I have one very interesting question.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
absolutely. And that's the last one for the evening.
In one of your examples, I saw Anita was harassing Karthik. So in that case, will the same act be applicable? Because it very clearly reads harassment of women, or will Sir apply another act?
Okay, to answer that, the act is very woman-centric, but the POSH policy can be gender-neutral. Having said that, the ICC only registers complaints by the women. If the man faces any kind of an issue or a sexual harassment, then he can go to the disciplinary committee, and the ICC can assist in making that work out for him.
So Sir will let go of Karthik free.
You have rightly asked a question and put her on spot.
And he happens to be my husband, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Pooja. May I request Divyesh?
I think it is for only generally women's,
Yes.
this is for women. I think I reply to your question also. आप
Yes,
कर लीजिए
yes.
पूरा. I think आपने जो question पूछा था ना, we have not covered this act, the Children's Act. So let me just give for 2-3 minutes. हाँ.
Please, sir.
You know, this 2012 Act, ये जो बच्चों के लिए आया है, इसमें खास बात ये है कि MHA ने, they have issued such a guidelines that investigation of such cases, especially in rape cases, should be completed in 60 days and charge sheeted in 60 days, and even court should make a trial and give judgment in 6 months, total 6 months. I think you must have heard in newspapers in last 1 year that so many cases that that rapist was punished for 10 years, within 20 days, within 35 days, within 3 months. So that special focus is being given on those cases where victim is below 18 under sexual offences, and that is being monitored at central level and at top level at our state level. We are meeting every 15 days and monitoring such cases that if they should be investigated and done. Secondly, in the schools and college, we are going for make children aware the bad touch, good touch, how they should behave with that thing. So that is the awareness police is doing along with NGOs. They also teach the girl students some self-defense techniques. So that both things are going on. This act is very important. Government has taken very serious action, and you must be aware that after this Nirbhaya, the many amendments in IPC took place, CRPC took place, and one of them is even police officer is bound to take the FIR, and if he fails or refuses, even offense can be registered against police officer. So this is to neutralize, to give a confidence to the examples Pooja had said in her presentation, that what to do हमें तो यकीन नहीं होगा पुलिस कुछ करेगी कि नहीं करेगी। तो भले वो कुछ भी सोच रही है, पर आप ये देखिए कि हमने क्या क्या प्रोविज़न बना दिए हैं। somebody, so many जो NGOs हैं, now it is their duty to prepare her to come forward. And since it is mentioned NGOs, again I want to mention about the NGO. You might be aware that NGO number is very high in Gujarat. Can you just guess what can be the number of the registered NGO in Gujarat? Anyone? हैं? 6 lakh? काफ़ी आगे पहुंच गए आप तो। इट इज अब 2,40,000 हमारे पास जो रजिस्ट्रार साहब का जो डेटा है उसके हिसाब से वी हैव 2,40,000 रजिस्ट्रार। सो हाउ टू make utilization of this NGO has been our subject matter, say, for last 2.5 years. We are thinking how to utilize Anar Mehta. So many NGOs, they are allowed. How to utilize such NGOs? So that is a big question. And we luckily utilize the services of Pooja ji to see how NGOs can be motivated. कितने किए थे आपने टोटल? So we looking to her expertise, so we tried to engage 500 NGOs. She had engaged with them. She tried to motivate them that you are NGO, your constitution says this thing. And in that, one of thing is that women empowerment. So kindly come out of your traditional working and do some real policing, do some real empowerment. So that's way we are trying to motivate the NGOs also. So it was little deviation. So we are doing good for the children for sexual protection also.
Thank you so much, sir. I mean, you took so much time to actually do that. Pooja ji, a little token of appreciation from you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the audience, but I have, at the summing up, we are now a little more aware of the law that backs, we are a little more aware of what comes in under sexual harassment and what doesn't. And that it can happen both ways, and the street is open both ways. But what we need to do is prevent it. Bad things happen, but we can only prevent a bad thing, or we can ask help of law only when we are raising the voice. But with that, my take personally on this entire situation is, this happens probably 10-20% of the time. Let's not color all 80% men, those who are fabulous colleagues, great friends, and I'm not putting any relation here. Men as colleagues, men as friends, men as supporting you as pure well-wisher are way too many. Let's also look at them and celebrate them as much as it's like. Thank you so much for coming to AMA, and be here please on the thing. In the canteen, when you go downstairs in the canteen, there is a high tea for everyone, so kindly have a cup of tea before you leave, and keep coming to AMA. We are here because you are here. Thank you so much.